What's going on, you guys? Sports Runs on Diesel back at you here with another episode. Week 14 is now in the books here as the playoffs draw closer and closer. Let's dig right into it. Actually, there's a lot of games to talk about this weekend, this past weekend, and we're going to get right down into it. Patriots, Rams. The Rams obviously were too much for the New England Patriots in this ballgame as they win 24-3. The only person to talk about in this ballgame, I mean, we know about Jared Goff going off the last few games and having some big-time numbers. But Cam Akers, Cam Newton's had some moments himself. He's had a couple of 300-yard passing games throughout the season. But that's not the Cam we're talking about. We're talking about Cam Akers, the running back for the Los Angeles Rams here. 29 carries, 171 yards. And then he also had a couple of catches for 23 yards. Obviously, the running game was way too much for the New England Patriots defense, and it sets up that play-action pass that Sean McVay loves to use. And, they're finding Robert Woods, they're finding Cooper Kupp, they're finding Higbee. That run game sets up that play-action pass so beautifully for this Los Angeles Rams offense. And then the defense, what is it there to like about Aaron Donald and company there on the defensive side of the football? Jalen Ramsey in the secondary there. And they completely shut down the New England Patriots, and the Patriots really didn't have a chance against this Los Angeles Rams team. Up next, Packers, Lions, obviously a divisional round game. I did not want to talk about this game because, Detroit's really on the outside looking in, and they really don't have a playoff chance. But because Green Bay won, now they're the number one overall seed, which I will get to the conferences and the seedings in just a second, in just a couple minutes here. But Packers win 31-24 in this ballgame. Rodgers, 26-33, 290 yards, 3 touchdown passes. And personally, my pick for the offensive player of the year this year, Davante Adams goes off again, 7 catches, 115 yards, and another touchdown. And I mean, what is there not there? There's an easy case for Davante Adams being Offensive Player of the Year, with him being 4th in receptions, 6th in yards, tied for 1st in touchdowns with Tyreek Hill with 14, and he's the other candidate is Tyreek Hill, tied for 6th in 20-yard plays. So pass plays that end up in 20 yards or more, he's tied for 6th in that category with 15. And then he's tied for number 1. He's tied for 1st with plays that are 40 yards or more. Pass plays that end up with 40 yards or more. He has 5 of those, tied with his teammate and his teammate Valdez-Scantling and 2 other players with 5 on the season. 5th in the league in targets with 121. What's there not to like about Davante Adams? He has clearly come through. He's been healthy all season. Titans, Jaguars, didn't want to talk about this game either, but because Tennessee won, Tennessee is now the division leader in the AFC South because of this win. They win 31-10. They own the tiebreaker against the Indianapolis Colts right now. Derrick Henry, man, is a freak. 26 carries, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's the 4th time in his career he has done that. He's the first player in NFL history to have 4 or more games of 200 yards and multiple touchdowns. No one's ever done that in their career. And Derrick Henry, I mean, honestly, as much as you can make a case for him being Offensive Player of the Year, him being a powerhouse, and just he's really a wrecking ball in the sense, and you don't want to have that guy running at you full speed. With me, I'd be an open revolving door. I'd be like, go right ahead, brother. I'm getting out of your way because I'm not trying to take you down. 6'4", 240 pounds. No thanks. Chiefs, Dolphins, one of the games of the week. I loved watching this ball game, even though, Miami special teams ended up costing them the ball game here with that Hardman punt return for the touchdown. That ends up being the difference in this ball game. Chiefs win 33-27. Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. What else needs to be said? Tyreek Hill also rushed for a touchdown. So there's nothing else that needs to be said with the Kansas City Chiefs other than that they won this football game. And you give Miami some credit. Tua threw for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He looked pretty good in this ball game. But just too much Kansas City, too much Mahomes, Kelsey, Tyreek Hill. And honestly, Miami's defense played excellent in this ball game. They forced 3 Patrick Mahomes interceptions, and they still lose this football game. What it ultimately comes down to is, like I just said, the special teams killed them, and that punt return for a touchdown ultimately ended up being the difference in this ball game. They were down 28-27, 28-10. No, it was 27-10 within the first 5 minutes of the second half. But I like Miami's resiliency, and they come back and they make it a ball game. Unfortunately, it comes up short against the Kansas City Chiefs. Cardinals, Giants. Another game I didn't really want to talk about much, but I'm going to be brief about it. The outside linebacker there, Riddick. What a monster game he had for the Arizona Cardinals here. 5 sacks and 3 forced fumbles. The last player I remember having a game like this is like, I don't even remember. Obviously we know Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald. Some of these guys are known to have games like, they're known to have games like this where they go off and they get multiple sacks. Shaq Barrett's another one, the linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cardinals beat the Giants 26-7. The Vikings and the Broncos. Not much to talk about this game other than, do the Buccaneers look to get back on track here? A little bit. They got back on track. We know about the touchdown pass to Scotty Miller. What else? But my thing is Tom Brady only threw for 190-something yards against a good Vikings defense. The Vikings were outmatched, out-manhandled in this ball game. But with that being said, the Vikings are still on the outside looking in this playoff picture, and they do have a chance of making the playoffs, but they need some help with some of the bottom-tier teams in that NFC conference. But Tampa Bay wins 26-14. Like I said, not much to talk about in this ball game other than the fact that Tampa Bay somewhat got back on track, and they have to run the football in order for Tom Brady to be effective in the play-action pass. Tom Brady airmailed Chris Godwin once, Mike Evans. He airmailed guys that were wide open in this ball game, and he's still learning the timing of his players and stuff. But here they are, they're 8-5, and they're in the playoffs right now. But we'll get to that in a moment. Colts, Raiders, 44-27 in this ball game. Jonathan Taylor, 20 carries, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. And the running game for the Indianapolis Colts is all of a sudden starting to find a spark here. And it's setting up things like the play-action pass. It's setting up all sorts of things for this offense to do, and it's putting them in manageable short second and third down situations, which make it easy conversions for them. And they had no trouble with the Las Vegas Raiders in this ball game, as it's their highest point total of the season, 44 points. Saints, Eagles. Jalen Hurts' first career start here in the NFL. Jalen Hurts looked great in this football game, 17-30, 167 yards, threw a touchdown pass. Also carried the ball 18 times for 106 yards. And then we can't forget Miles Sanders in this ball game for this Philadelphia Eagles team, 14 carries, 115 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Philadelphia pulls off the big upset against this New Orleans team, 24-21 in this ball game, keeping their playoff hopes alive somewhat, but it's going to take a lot for them they got to beat the Washington football team if they're going to even have a chance. And they do play the Washington football team in Week 17. It's a home game against them in Week 17 of the season here. But big win for the Philadelphia Eagles to keep their playoff hopes alive. And I think Jalen Hurts is going to be the starter for the rest of the season. Once again, Carson Wentz gets benched again. And we saw it happen a few years ago with Nick Foles, and Nick Foles brought him to the Super Bowl, and they end up ultimately beat the Patriots in that Super Bowl and win the whole thing. But Philadelphia's Jalen Hurts looks promising here in this as they come up and keep playing ball games here, and they finish off the season. Will they sneak in the playoffs? Highly doubtful. Washington's way ahead of them. I think they're like 2 or 3 games ahead of them right now, so it's very unlikely that's going to happen. Buffalo, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is continuing to struggle here in the last couple of weeks. They failed to score 20 points again for I think it's like the 3rd straight week in a row. They haven't even scored 20 points. They ultimately lose 26-15. Josh Allen, 24 of 43, 238 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Stephon Diggs, 10 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown. You can make a case for Diggs being Offensive Player of the Year. He leads the NFL in receptions this year with 100 receptions on the dot so far this season. And Josh Allen's going to continue to keep throwing to Stephon Diggs and keep exploiting the secondary with with those matchups. And then we finally come down to my favorite game, my pick for the game of the year right now. Cleveland against Baltimore here. 47-42. Baltimore somehow, some way pulls off the win here. A combined 9 rushing touchdowns. The last game that had a combined 9 rushing touchdowns, it wasn't even the NFL. Literally, they said the record, the last time there was 9 rushing touchdowns in a game was 1922. When throwing the football wasn't even an art form like it is today. And Cleveland ultimately Baltimore wins this football game. Jackson goes out with an injury, comes back in, throws the touchdown to Marquise Brown late in the fourth quarter. And, unfortunately, Cleveland leaves enough time. And when you have the number 1 kicker in NFL history in terms of accuracy, kicking the football, you can't leave time on the clock for the Baltimore Ravens to march down the field. And they marched down the field in 2-3 plays, kick the field goal, game over. I mean, Lamar Jackson beat them with his legs in the first half, 9 carries, 124 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then he beats them in the with his arm and throws the football. He was 5 of 6 in the last 2 possessions of the ball game there. Obviously, the one incompletion was him spiking the football, etc. Mayfield goes off too. We had a rushing touchdown, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Chubb and Hunt both have over 100 scrimmage yards each, and both have 2 touchdowns in this ball game. One of the best games of the year, if not the best game of the year. And that's how this week ended. Baltimore keeps their playoff hopes alive, and now they're tied with Miami for that 7th seed in the AFC. Now let's get to the playoff picture here. I'm going to be going over some of I'm going to be going over the seedings, but I'm also going to be going over some of these teams' next 3 games. Obviously, in the AFC, Kansas City is now the ultimate 1 seed now at 12-1. Pittsburgh's 11-2. Buffalo's 10-3 at the 3 seed. And Tennessee 9-4 at the 4 seed. Cleveland's 9-4. Indiana's 9-4. And Miami rounds out the top 7 at 8-5. There's a lot to talk about here in terms of the next couple of, Kansas City's got a big game coming up here in Week 15. They play the New Orleans Saints. And ultimately, Pittsburgh doesn't have an easy road. They play at Cincinnati this week. That should be an easy win for them. But then they also have a home game against the Colts and an away game at Cleveland in Week 17. And if Cleveland's got to win out in order for them to have a chance, in order for them to take over winning that divisional spot and have at least one home game in the playoffs. With that being said, Cleveland's got it easy. They play the Giants in Week 15, the Jets in Week 16, and then obviously they're home against Pitt. Miami's got a big game coming up this weekend against New England on Sunday. Then they play the Raiders, and then they play Buffalo. The Raiders and the Buffalo, those are both away games, and they have a tough out here, and they have to win out in order for them to make the playoffs because Baltimore will sneak in and steal that last spot from them if they don't pay attention. With that being said, over in the NFC side, we have a new number 1 seed in the Green Bay Packers at 10-3. The New Orleans Saints are now 10-3, unfortunately, with their loss. And moving on from that, the Rams are the 3 seed at 9-4. Washington continues to find winning ways in that front 7 of their defense, and they're 6-7 at the 4 seed. Seattle's 9-4 at the 5 seed. Tampa Bay 8-5. Arizona 7-6 to round out the playoff seedings right now at the end of Week 14 before Week 15 gets started here on Thursday night. And what to talk about here? The only challenge here for Green Bay right now was their Week 17 matchup against Chicago, but ultimately, we know what that defense is capable of. They could keep them in ball games, but their offense has struggled all season long mightily, and that's why Chicago's not in the playoff picture anymore. They lost like 6-7 straight games, and I don't see them winning this ball game. But that's Week 17. That's 2-3 weeks away. New Orleans, obviously, like I said about Kansas City, they're playing up again. New Orleans is playing Kansas City here. This is going to be a big test. And Taysom Hill is going to, right now, Taysom Hill is going to be the quarterback, but a lot of people are making a case for Jameis Winston to be the quarterback in this game because there's only one way you're going to be able to keep up with this Kansas City Chiefs offense, and the game has to be a shootout because that's the only way you're going to have a chance against Kansas City is either you force turnovers with Patrick Mahomes and you keep scoring, or you just outscore them, and it's going to be very difficult to outscore the Kansas City Chiefs here. The Rams have two big games coming up at the end of the season. Week 16, Week 17, they play Seattle and Arizona. And those are going to be two tough matchups that will ultimately decide the fate of the NFC West. Washington plays Seattle in this upcoming week here on Week 15. Then they play Carolina and at Philly. I see Washington winning this division here. I don't see them not winning it. But they have put themselves in a very good position thanks to that defense. And we can't forget about Alex Smith doing the impossible here, practically playing with one leg. And ultimately, you give props to Gibson, the running back for this ball club, Terry McLaurin, who's also had a fantastic season as well for this football team. And they put themselves in a good position, and that's where they're the 4th seed, and they lead the NFC East division. Seattle, like I just said, Seattle's got it tough in the last 3 games. They play Washington, they go away and play Washington. Then they go to then they play home against the Rams, and then they play in San Francisco against the 49ers in Week 17. Tampa Bay, they play Atlanta this week. They play Detroit in Week 16. Those are 2 away games, and then they're back home against Atlanta. 3 of the easiest games to finish off the regular season. I think they have like one of the easiest remaining schedules here at the end of the regular season here in the last 3 weeks. And then obviously Arizona plays Philadelphia at home, San Fran at home, and then plays the Rams in Week 17. So there's a lot of football left to be played. Obviously, a lot of teams are going to be shuffling around here like a shuffleboard. But a lot of exciting football left to be played before the playoffs start. I want to thank you guys so much for your time. I know this is a 20-plus minute video here. Thank you guys so much for your time. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Please comment down below on who you think is going to, if anyone outside the playoffs is going to be able to sneak in, whether it's the Raiders, the Baltimore Ravens, the Patriots have a chance. Patriots really don't have a chance anymore because now that Patriots really needed Cleveland to beat Baltimore, and because right now Baltimore's in front of them and the Raiders are in front of the Patriots in order for them to try and sneak into the playoffs. So the chances of the Patriots making the playoffs are very unlikely. It's a miracle now for them to make the playoffs. But thanks again so much for your time. Stay tuned for the NBA, some NBA content coming up. Here we are less than a week away from the NBA season as it starts next Tuesday night. And I can't wait for the NBA season to get started here. Some players look really good. We obviously know about Giannis signing that max deal. Stay tuned for that episode coming up. And all the free agent moves and stuff that happened in the NBA season. I know I said this 2 weeks ago and I haven't done the video yet. I will do it. There's been a lot of things moving around and shuffling, and no sooner I finish and get ready to do the video, something else comes up, and I got to make sure I get all the right information to tell you guys what's going on. But thanks again so much for your time. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Deuces.